85% of the high net worth individuals, those that have more than $1 million are salespeople, either entrepreneurs or full-time employees that are salespeople. So that's actually quite interesting, right?
Hello and welcome back to Tech and Startups, the premier growth network for technology leaders. Let's get started.
I'm very excited to have gotten to know Javier Iglesias through our time traveling. He's an amazing, charismatic, and thoughtful salesperson who's been quite successful, and I'm grateful that he's going to share some tips with us today.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Alex. I'm very excited to be here and to speak with your audience. So hopefully we can give a lot of value here and make this very practical, very actionable. So let me just, as a way of introduction, let me talk very, very briefly about how come I'm here speaking and how come I claim that I can talk and make sense when it comes to sales. So, I believe that sales is the only thing that matters, or the most important thing when we refer to entrepreneurs and to companies, right? Because without sales, there's nothing that we can do, right? Without sales, we don't pay any salary. Without sales, nothing happens, right? So, if you think about, the high net worth individuals, if you think about the richest people in the world, if you think also about the people that make the biggest difference when it comes to making an impact and a contribution that is measured by dollars or euros, then everyone is a sales. 85% of the high net worth individuals, those that have more than $1 million are salespeople, either entrepreneurs or full-time employees that are salespeople. So that's actually quite interesting, right? And also 90% of the CEOs of the 250 commercial banks that exist in the world are actually started as a salesperson, right? Sales executives or branch directors, but they all started as sales guys. So I do believe that everyone in an organization should be making sales, from the CEO to the concierge guy, right? So I'm gonna show a very couple of slides. For the past 15 years, I've been selling, and for the past 4 years, I created my sales academy, which is only in Spanish, but I'm very happy to show you guys what this is about in English. So, I always talk about, so my methodology is called the tree of sales. And there are 3 components in the tree of sales. And I think this is very, very useful and very practical for everyone, because as you think about, how can you structure your sales methodology, it doesn't matter, regardless of what you sell, where you sell, to whom you sell. I think it's very useful to think in terms of these 3 components. So the roots of the tree is just the mindset, right? If you don't have the right mindset, nothing happens. I always think that there are 3 components for it to be successful. Number 1 is the mindset. Number 2 is the support you get. And number 3 is the specific knowledge, right? So the mindset, in here, the roots is really the most important thing. Now, the trunk is just the habits, we are the result of our habits. So the key is to have the right habits. Now, there are 2 kinds of habits, and I would like everyone to make a note of this. 2 kinds of habits. One is automatic habits, right? Like Pavlovian habits, like I wake up and then I have breakfast, right? Like I wake up and then I have a shower. Or I open my computer and then I do 3 breathings before I actually do something, right? Or I sit down for my sales time and then I just have some solid habits that I don't even need to think. I just execute like a Marine, right? So, this second component is very, very important. It's very tactical. It is just the habits that every salesperson needs to have, right? And then there is a second kind of habit, which is a deliberate habit, which is when we are present to the possibility we want to create for ourselves as salespeople. And this is very important. We need to have our reticular activated system, this part of our brain that focuses, that filters information based on what is really, really important for us. So if we don't have a goal, a sales goal, for instance, and if we don't create the structure for us to be very present in that goal that we have created, then there is no way on earth you're going to get that goal. It's very, very simple, right? Okay, and then the third component, the three top, as you can see in this little picture, it's basically the 7 factors in sales. So the first one is prospecting, right? We need to be very present to who is our top tier 1 prospects, because time is very limited. You need to focus on the top prospects that you have, and I talk about different criteria when you choose these prospects, but you should be focusing on the 20% of the prospects that will give you 80% of the revenue or the impact that you can make on them, right? Now, the second component is getting meetings. If you don't get meetings, if you don't spend a lot of time just getting meetings, then it doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter the product you have. If at the end of the day you don't have meetings, if you don't speak with people, those meetings could be on the phone, could be on a webinar like we are having. It could be in person. It doesn't matter, but you need to have meetings, many meetings, right? The third is challenging, right? There is a white paper called The Death of the Relationship Builder from Harvard Business Review. And there's a book that I definitely recommend everyone. It's called The Challenger Sale, that was written by 2 of my colleagues. It was a New York Times bestseller, and it has changed completely the paradigm in which we sell. So the third factor is how you can challenge and how you can add value to the prospect. So in these days, there's a marketing rule that is not ask and you shall receive. It's give value and you shall receive. Challenge the person on their limiting beliefs, challenge the prospect on their limiting beliefs, on the way they think, and then they will treat you as a consultant, as an advisor. So this third factor is very important. The fourth factor is the actual presentation. When you align the basic needs of the person, the basic needs of the prospect, with what you are actually selling with your product or service. This makes sense so far, right? And then the next factor is asking questions. Issue diagnosis is the most important factor, in my opinion, in a sales meeting. If you only had 5 minutes to speak with someone to sell your product, I would only ask questions. Sometimes I have had meetings where I only had like 10 minutes and I said, listen, I'm just going to ask you questions to really understand whether I can really help you or not. And then from there, we can maybe pick it up, right? The next factor is sales objections and then closing. So this is very important. As you can see in the next slide. So again, the roots is the mindset, the habits, the trunks are the habits, and then the techniques. So if we can make this very, very actionable, I would like to propose a little exercise. Everyone, as I said, should be selling something. There is one of my companies, it's an insurance company in Spain, and they've got this interesting exercise in which everyone receives a call at least once every quarter, and they need to make a sale. And everyone in a bank, that is also a company of mine, a client of mine, needs to open 2 different business accounts and 2 different retail accounts per year. So, your bonus is actually also based, for all the employees, your bonus is based on how many sales you actually make on your own, right? So everyone needs to be focused and obsessed about how can we make sales, because if we make sales, we make an impact. We change people's lives, especially if your product or service is aligned with your temperament, with your character, with your values, with your vision, with your mission, and with the context that you have created for yourself. So being obsessed, and I love the word being obsessed, because when you are obsessed means that you are very present to the possibility that you want to create for your life. So everyone should be obsessed about sales, and that's my opinion. So let's make this very practical. I cannot ask here questions. I cannot make a quick poll, or maybe I can. Yeah, can you please write down in the comment box here in the chat?
In the chat?
Yeah, there's a chat here, right? So everyone
Mhm.
can access the chat. So can everyone please write down whether you have specific sales goals, whether you are a salesperson or whether you work for a team that has a specific sales goal. Just yes or no, and either question is fine. Sometimes maybe you're not a direct salesperson.
So I'm typing yes.
Great.
Yes, I sell, but no sales goals.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for your honesty here. So I would like everyone to make a sales goal here. If you don't sell anything, just get a product or service that you can start selling. It could be getting a coach that you know very well and say, listen, I really believe in you and I'm going to help you sell, to 20 clients. I'm going to get you 20 clients, or I'm going to get you 10 clients. If you work for your company, do this as a hobby. Just try to get at least 10 clients for your company in the next 9 months. We are in March. We still have 9 months. So please, everyone, let's make this very, very practical. What I'm proposing to you is that you write down a sales goal for the next 9 months, and that you make it happen. This will be the most transformational thing that you can possibly do.
So Javier, in the little bit of time we have left, I wonder if maybe I could workshop that with you, so I could give you a sales goal, and then we could talk about how to start getting at it right now and start practicing that skill right now.
That's a great idea. Let's make this very practical. Okay. Yeah, that'll be great. Let's do it. Let's do it with you.
Okay, so an example is, my major service is that I sell freelance consulting to the leaders of technology companies who are CEOs, and they're looking to grow the way that they manage their company and the way that they take in work and be more organized in that. So that's the product or service, right?
Yeah.
But I have no goal. But so maybe we can start there, set a goal together, and then talk about how to begin approaching it.
Very good. And can I just say this? While you and I work on this, can everyone please write down all the steps that we are going to talk about and make these your own sales goals? So that will be very, very helpful. Great. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex. So just take 3 seconds to think about what would be the right, the ideal sales goal that you want to make for this year. And thank you so much for opening up here and sharing. Is it going to be $100,000? Is it going to be $500,000? Is it going to be 1 million? Mm-hmm. What would be the goal that if you and I talked on the 31st of December this year, you would say, okay, I got it. So what would be that number? I'm looking for a number right now.
A dollar amount. So if I made 300,000 USD in revenue, that's a big goal, but that would be stellar. And 100,000 would be acceptable. So what should I aim at? The acceptable or the stellar?
So we need one specific number. We don't want a range. Let's just because our mind will focus on whatever number we tell it. Okay. Yeah. So is it going to be 100 or 300?
Let's say it's 200. Let's say in the middle.
Okay. So 300,000. Very good. Now, how many weeks do you want to work per year? So we've got 52 weeks, right? How many weeks do you want to work on your sales?
Let's say 50 weeks.
50 weeks, very good.
That's 2 weeks of vacation.
Yeah, very good. And by the way, everyone, there is a study from Columbia University, and there is a study also from the Sales and Marketing Association, who studied in the Fortune 500 companies how much time each sales rep was spending on selling. And we mean by selling, time you are spending one-on-one with your client, right, with your prospect. So, it's very interesting because both studies from the Columbia University and from the Sales and Marketing Association, and I saw this from Jeffrey Gitomer and from Brian Tracy, and Grant Cardone has also, referred to this amount of time that every salesperson spends selling on a daily basis. And it's only 90 minutes. So who here does not have 90 minutes? So if you spend just 90 minutes selling, you can actually be one of the top performers in your industry, whatever you are selling. But this is the interesting thing, that if instead of selling 90 minutes per day, you sell 2 hours per day, you can become one of the top 5% performers in your industry, in your product, selling your product or service. So how much time do you think you can set aside, Alex, on a daily basis, from Monday to Friday, let's say, just to sell?
Let me take your recommendation of 90 minutes a day.
Very good. Do you think you could be able to just spend 2 hours selling?
If I had the skills, I think so, yes.
Great. So, yeah. Well, this is the interesting thing that, our sales number depends on two things, right? Number one, how good we are at selling. So what's our conversion rate? And then the second variable is how much time can we sell? When I started selling, I didn't have confidence. I didn't have self-esteem. I didn't have any knowledge whatsoever. I was just a 25-year-old that pretty much didn't know anything about nothing. And all I did was spending 70 hours every week. I was working 70 hours a week, just selling, including the weekends. So I had prospects that just told me, look, Javier, I have no idea what you are actually selling me, but I decided to give you the vote of confidence. And I was like, oh my God, don't tell this to my boss, please. But some people just told me that because I was very persistent, because I was very enthusiastic. So, sometimes it doesn't matter if we don't have the right skills yet. But if we are persistent and if we are consistent, then over time we'll get all the skills. So anyway, so 90 minutes per day. That's good. Now 50 weeks per year, you said, right? Right. What is the average price point of your product or service? What's the price unit of whatever you sell?
Let's call it $5,000.
$5,000. Very good. Now, if you are only selling 50 weeks, if you are only working on sales 50 weeks per year, let's see how much money do you need to make every week. So let's divide 200,000 by 50. And that is 4,000, right? So you need to make $4,000 every week for you to make 200,000 every year. Now, this is the mistake that everyone makes, or most salespeople make, right? They don't think in terms of weeks, they don't think in terms of months, and they don't think in terms of days. So every day you should be obsessed about, did I make my numbers right here? Am I hitting my activity levels so that by the end of the week I'm getting $4,000 booked? Okay, so $4,000.
So I want to say, I want to call out what you're saying is one actionable step here is break your quota down into the week. Know how much we're working through this formula, and your reasoning is, I have a sales goal for the year. It's a total dollar amount. I'm going to divide that by the number of weeks I'm actually working. And now I have a weekly quota of how much I should be making every week. And maybe even, and then I can break it down to my daily actions, right? And Indeed. So if that's what you're saying, to gear me up, I want to have get my quota from the year down to a weekly thing.
Exactly right. Exactly right. One of the things that have totally transformed my life and my revenue as well is just to be obsessed. And again, I love the word being obsessed. So every Monday I go to what I call my master Excel spreadsheet. I could actually give it to you guys. So actually I can give it to you for free. If you go to javierIglesias.com/ENG, I will send you that for free to everyone. Okay. Not tomorrow, but within the next days, I will give to your audience, everyone, that how I actually structure my weeks and how I actually make my sales goals. Anyway, so every Monday, so yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I'm saying. So every Monday we should look at our master spreadsheet. You can have a very fancy CRM. I can recommend Hold It. I can recommend Salesforce. There are many of them, but you don't need any of those. You just need an Excel spreadsheet. And every Monday you just look at what are the activity levels I need to put in place here, so that by the end of the week, so that by Friday, or actually by Sunday, because I love selling during the weekend, so that by Sunday, I'm hitting my goal. And this is the thing, that if 1 week you make not 4,000 but 12,000, you get momentum. So the next week you need to do also 3 times. So that the beauty of this is that by July or by August you have already made your 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so
let's imagine, Javier, and I'm just checking the time, and I want
yes.
to I'll make this as a request. Let's imagine, like you said, every person in the organization, in this example you give us, as a salesperson, at least a little bit. So it may be that for me, I'm accountable to the whole organization. So I'm definitely have to be a salesperson who's working on this daily. But you mentioned, even if I think that I'm not a salesperson, that's not my role in the organization, I should be at least a sometimes salesperson. I should have a quota. So for that person that it does have a little bit of has a sales goal, but it might not be their everyday goal. It might be their weekly, something they work on weekly. What would you recommend? Like, what's the first step? So I've set a little quota for myself. I don't necessarily consider it my full-time job of sales, but I'm willing to put in, let's say, a couple hours a week, or even half an hour a day or an hour a day. How should I get started? What's my very first next step?
Well, assuming that you don't have a product or service to sell, I would just create one within the next week. Actually, within 24 hours.
Okay, one is make a product. Let's assume that I'm working for a business that does have a product or service. So I have one.
Great. Well, if you have one, then you need to ask. Then you need to go out there, write down a list of 50 prospects that you can actually call, and then just make calls. Just set up meetings with those 50 prospects of yours, and do that within the next month. You should be having at least, at the very, very, very least, if not, you are fired. That's when I was working for JP Morgan and Gartner, the management consultancy in the States. I'm sure you guys know these 2 names.
Sure.
Whoever does not have 10 meetings every week, then got fired. Like literally, that's the very, very, very minimum. You would go to a focus plan if you don't have 10 meetings that you have conducted within 1 week. That's a very, very, very minimum. So I would say let's adopt those numbers, because those numbers really work for us. So every week you need to have 10 conversations, which is different from meetings. But let's just have at least 10 conversations with prospects that your company should be having. And
I want to highlight that your metric is not the sales, it's the number of meetings that you have.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to highlight the action nature of that, right? It's not the result so much as the I made these meetings.
Yeah. So we should all be creating a sales funnel. Okay. We should all have our numbers completely clear in our head. So number one is, what is the territory that you have, right? So in your area, what are the number of prospects that you can have? So is it 200, 300, 500? Okay. So just write down the number of prospects that you have. Now, how many calls do you need to make? Literally calls. I believe that there's no better way to sell than making calls. You can have a fancy app, or you can send a marketing campaign through LinkedIn. I would ask everyone to just make calls, because that's the best learning you can have. Just make calls. Making a cold call, that's the best learning you can have. So first, understand how many prospects do you have. You can divide them into 4 tiers. Tier A is like the best prospect, because it's aligned with your values. It's very, very easy for you to serve. It's easy to cross-sell things. So focus on those 20%, as I said earlier on. Then make calls every day, so that you can have at least 10 meetings, 10 strategy sessions or 10 sales meetings on a weekly basis, minimum 10 meetings. And then from those 10 meetings, you will always have some follow-up. The Sales and Marketing Association in the United States says that it takes between 5 and 7 interactions to make one sale on average. Now, I don't believe that you can make a sale within one conversation. That's what we aim to do all the time in my sales academy. But the average says that it takes between 5 and 7 interactions to make a sale. So from those 10 meetings you schedule after X amount of calls you make every week, then you will get follow-up sessions or follow-up calls. From those follow-up calls, you might need to, depending on your product or service, you might need to get on board someone else in your company to help you with the content or to play good cop, bad cop. Then from those follow-up sessions and from those follow-up proposals, you end up making one sale. So you need to really understand your numbers. So every call you make, you just make a tick in your notebook, in your diary, in your master spreadsheet, and then you need to understand your numbers. After you do this for 3-4 weeks, you will have a lot of clarity and you will be much, much better in sales. Can I just share very quickly in 1 minute, because we might be running out of time, but this is very important for everyone to understand. Willpower doesn't work. Willpower is one of the worst approaches to grow your income, to grow your health, everything here, So hopefully with what I am about to share with you, guys, I'm probably going to help you achieve more in the next 6 months than you have probably achieved in the last 10 years in terms of your growth, in terms of your sales, in terms of your personal development. So please be with me for 30 more seconds. So from a psychological perspective, most people think that, it's our personality and our identity what shapes our behavior. So in other words, people think that, if I've got the right skills, the right personality, and I make a lot of calls, I will be selling, right? Well, this is what we know, that it is actually our behavior what defines our personality, what defines our identity. I'm talking about sales, but this applies to every single walk of life, every single area of our lives. So if you change your behavior, you change your personality, you change your identity. If you change your behavior, you change your confidence. And if you change your behavior, and I'm talking about making calls, you change your motivation. So these 3 things: you change your behavior, meaning you take a lot of action, you change your personality, and you change your identity. You make a lot of calls, you take a lot of action, then you change your confidence. And for the third thing is, again, you change your behavior, take a lot of action, massive action, imperfect action, as Tony Robbins says, then you change your motivation. And there is no better training than taking action. So I would urge everyone to just get a sales goal and make calls. If you don't have a product or service, think about someone you really admire and say, listen, I really believe in your product. Let me get you 50 people. Let me get you 50 clients, because I'm going to make a huge impact by referring you people. Sell Alex's products. What he's putting together. I've seen what you Alex do for your clients. It's really, really amazing. And everyone should be selling what you do, and actually I want to start selling what you do for some of the SMEs I work with, because it's really, really great how you can automate and how you can leverage the human capital in a company through technology and through all the things you do. It's really, really amazing. So someone could just start selling what you do. It's like, I'm going to make sure that at least 10 companies or 15 companies transform their business and their revenue 10x within 6 months, which is what you can, conservatively say, because that's what you actually get for your clients. So that's an example. If someone doesn't know what to sell, get Alex and sell your product. So if you don't know what to sell, go to Tony Robbins and become an affiliate of Tony Robbins. And you get 250 euros for every ticket you sell to Tony Robbins in his UPW events. So just make a sales goal for the next 9 months. And I can assure you that you can double your income, whatever you are getting right now, if you just have a sales goal based on what I just shared with you.
Javier, thank you so much for that. I got a lot. I think the number one thing I pulled out of this was everybody can be a salesperson. It takes about a month to gain the clarity if we're logging our numbers. And if we don't have a product or service to sell, make one or find one, be an affiliate of one. And I'll accept affiliates for sure. So if anyone wants to practice, you got me. You can definitely do that with my product or service. Javier, we're a little bit over, but I want to quickly give you the opportunity of 3 quick questions about you. Number 1, where are you contacting us from today? What part of the world?
So I'm right now in London.
Right now in London. You spent some time in Spain. You're recently in Vietnam and Thailand. So the
Well,
great
that
thing
was
about
for
a virtual
holidays, but
conference.
that was for
Oh, that
holidays.
was the holiday.
I'm always between London and Spain, and I travel a lot in Europe and in Latin America. That's where my clients and my business
Perfect.
is based. Yeah.
And what services do you want to provide to the world?
So I do three things mainly. I've got a sales academy, so I help sales directors in companies, and also I've got a B2C sales academy, so I help entrepreneurs and sales reps to sell 2, 3, 10 times more within 6 months. That's a methodology I created 20 years ago. I know I look 20 years, but I'm actually 42. So that's the first thing I do, a sales academy. The second thing is I've got an investment education and real estate education academy. It's also online. It's only for Spanish speakers, so you guys cannot do it in the next, at least in the next year. And then the last thing I've got is a coaching school. So I have been training for 10 years the next generation of coaches and therapists, both here in the UK and in Spain. And then I provide in-company training on leadership and on leadership and change and sales, always sales. Yeah.
And if people want to find you, how can they do it?
So, you can go to my Instagram or my Facebook or my LinkedIn. It's Javier Iglesias Coll, Coll. And I can give you that free, I promise you, if you go to javierIglesias.com/ENG. Now I won't send it to you tomorrow, but I will do it in the next days.
Perfect. Javier, thank you so much for joining us and dropping this value and encouraging, forcing us all to be the salespeople that we need to be to grow this skill. So thank you so much, Javier.
My pleasure. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, Alex, for putting this together and for giving so much value to your audience. I really acknowledge you for that. And it is my pleasure. And hopefully I will keep in touch with you guys through social media, and we'll speak again soon.
We've gotten some fantastic insights on strengthening your team. But what about other ways you can strengthen your team? I've assembled an 8-page guide on the 4 quadrants of strengthening your team with key insights from more than 11 veteran tech team leaders. To get yours, grab the link below this video. I'm so glad you joined us today. If this video was helpful, give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell so that tech and startup videos continue to show up in your feed. I'll see you in the other videos.